Bundling Romex wires together can create several risks. Firstly, wires carrying current generate heat. When wires are bundled, the heat is trapped and can't dissipate properly. This can lead to excessive temperatures, insulation breakdown, and potential fire hazards. Secondly, as temperature rises, the ampacity or current carrying capacity of wires decreases. Bundling wires reduces airflow and increases resistance, which further lowers ampacity. This can lead to overloaded circuits, overheating, and electrical failures. Thirdly, bundling wires can make them more difficult to work with and increase the risk of physical damage. This can result in nicks, cuts, or abrasions, which can compromise wire integrity and create safety hazards. The National Electrical Code addresses the bundling of Romex wires in Section 334.80d. This section states that where installed in raceways, cables shall be installed without splices, except where splices are made in accordance with 110.14b. Where installed without raceways, cables shall be adequately supported and secured and shall be installed without splices other than as permitted in 400.9. While the National Electrical Code does not explicitly prohibit bundling, it requires adequate support and does not allow splices without raceways. Inspectors may interpret this requirement as disallowing bundling without raceways to ensure proper wire support and prevent damage. In addition to the code requirements, the manufacturer's instructions for Romex wires should be followed. Most manufacturers recommend against bundling wires, as it can impact wire performance and safety. While it may not be immediately apparent, bundling Romex wires together in a single-family home can create significant risks due to increased heat, reduced ampacity, and potential damage. It is best practice to avoid bundling wires and to follow the National Electrical Code requirements and manufacturer's instructions for proper wire installation and support. To elaborate, let's delve deeper into the factors that contribute to these risks. The heat generated by a conductor is proportional to the square of the current flowing through it and its resistance. This is described by Joule's first law, which states that the heat produced is equal to the current square times the resistance. When multiple conductors are bundled together, the heat produced by each conductor adds up, leading to a higher overall temperature. The insulation surrounding the wires is designed to withstand a certain temperature range. Exceeding this temperature range can cause the insulation to degrade, becoming brittle and losing its insulating properties. This can lead to short circuits, ground faults, and ultimately, fires. The ampacity of a conductor is the maximum amount of current it can carry safely without exceeding its temperature rating. The National Electrical Code provides ampacity tables that specify the ampacity of different conductors based on their size, insulation type, and ambient temperature. However, these ampacity tables assume that the conductors are installed in free air, allowing for adequate heat dissipation. When conductors are bundled together, the heat dissipation is reduced, and the ampacity must be derated. Derating involves reducing the allowable current carrying capacity of the conductors to compensate for the reduced heat dissipation. The National Electrical Code provides guidelines for derating conductors based on the number of conductors in a bundle and the ambient temperature. Failure to derate conductors properly can lead to overloaded circuits, which can overheat and potentially cause a fire. In addition to the electrical risks, bundling Romex wires can also create physical hazards. Bundled wires are more difficult to work with and can be easily damaged during installation or maintenance. Nicks, cuts, and abrasions to the insulation can compromise the integrity of the wire and create a potential shock hazard. The National Electrical Code requires that all electrical wiring be installed in a neat and workmanlike manner. This includes ensuring that wires are properly supported and secured to prevent damage. Bundling wires can make it difficult to achieve this requirement, as the wires may be more likely to sag or become entangled. It's also important to consider the long-term effects of bundling Romex wires. Over time, the insulation on the wires can degrade due to heat, moisture, and other environmental factors. This degradation can be accelerated by bundling, as the trapped heat can accelerate the breakdown of the insulation. Eventually, the insulation may become so brittle that it cracks or crumbles, exposing the bare conductors. This can create a serious shock hazard and increase the risk of fire. From a practical standpoint, avoiding bundling Romex wires is relatively easy. One simple solution is to use cable ties or straps to keep the wires organized and supported without compressing them tightly together. This allows for better airflow and heat dissipation. Another option is to use raceways or conduits to enclose the wires. Raceways and conduits provide physical protection for the wires and also help to improve heat dissipation. In some cases, it may be necessary to increase the size of the conductors to compensate for the reduced ampacity caused by bundling. This will ensure that the circuit can safely carry the required load without overheating. When in doubt, it's always best to consult with a qualified electrician. An electrician can assess the specific situation and recommend the best course of action. They can also ensure that the wiring is installed in accordance with the National Electrical Code and other applicable regulations. Remember that electrical safety is paramount. Taking the time to properly install and maintain electrical wiring can help to prevent fires, shocks, and other hazards. Don't cut corners when it comes to electrical work. It's simply not worth the risk. Let's consider some specific examples to illustrate the risks of bundling Romex wires. Imagine a scenario where several branch circuits are bundled together in an attic. The attic is unventilated and can get extremely hot during the summer months. The bundled wires are carrying a significant amount of current, and the heat generated by the wires is trapped within the bundle. As the temperature rises, the insulation on the wires begins to degrade. Eventually, the insulation cracks, exposing the bare conductors. A short circuit occurs, and a fire starts in the attic. This fire could quickly spread to the rest of the house, causing significant damage and potentially endangering lives. In another scenario, consider a situation where Romex wires are bundled together behind a wall. The wires are tightly packed and there is little or no airflow. Over time, the insulation on the wires becomes brittle and cracks. A homeowner attempts to hang a picture on the wall and accidentally drives a nail through one of the wires. The nail creates a path to ground, and the homeowner receives a severe electric shock. These examples highlight the importance of avoiding bundling Romex wires and following proper wiring practices. By taking the necessary precautions, we can help to prevent electrical hazards and ensure the safety of our homes and families. In addition to the information provided earlier, it's worth noting that some local jurisdictions may have stricter requirements regarding the bundling of Romex wires. It's always a good idea to check with the local building department or electrical inspector to determine the specific requirements in your area. They may have adopted amendments to the National Electrical Code or have specific interpretations of the code that apply to your situation. They may also be aware of local conditions that could affect the safety of electrical wiring, such as high humidity or extreme temperatures. When planning an electrical project, it's essential to obtain the necessary permits and inspections. This will ensure that the work is done safely and in compliance with all applicable regulations. Electrical inspectors are trained to identify potential hazards and ensure that the wiring is installed properly. They can also provide valuable advice and guidance on best practices for electrical safety. Don't hesitate to ask questions and seek clarification from the electrical inspector. They are there to help you ensure that your electrical system is safe and reliable. Finally, remember that electrical work can be dangerous. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it's best to hire a qualified electrician. Electricians have the training, experience, and equipment necessary to perform electrical work safely and efficiently. They can also ensure that the work is done in compliance with all applicable regulations. Hiring an electrician may seem like an added expense, but it can be a worthwhile investment in your safety and the value of your home. It's important to choose an electrician who is licensed, insured, and experienced. Ask for references and check their online reviews. A reputable electrician will be happy to provide you with proof of their credentials and references from past clients. In summary, bundling Romex wires can create several risks, including increased heat, reduced ampacity, and potential damage. The National Electrical Code addresses the bundling of Romex wires in Section 334.80d, requiring adequate support and prohibiting splices without racewires. Most manufacturers recommend against bundling wires, as it can impact wire performance and safety. It is best practice to avoid bundling wires and to follow the National Electrical Code requirements and manufacturer's instructions for proper wire installation and support. Always consult with a qualified electrician if you have any questions or concerns about electrical wiring.